The sanctions that have been placed on Russia due to the invasion is really rough.
Yeah, they're quite harsh, justified. But I think what most people in America are missing is what would happen if these sanctions were placed on American citizens. How would they handle it?
Let's face it, America lives a cushy life. But once they start deciding prepping, it really opens their eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to sanctions, well, if you're actually a prepper, you're kind of getting ready for these kind of things. But, this video is going to be a little bit different than most videos for the fact that, well, if we had them, we'd put some little tinfoil hats on here for conspiracy. But we're going to talk about different ways that the American people may actually have sanctions put on them if you become an enemy of the state. Visa and MasterCard. Visa and MasterCard can no longer be used in Russia because of the sanctions. How would you fare? Do you use Visa or MasterCard or some other major credit card like American Express in America? What would happen if you became the enemy of the state because Russia became an enemy of the state and you can't use them there? How would you do if you couldn't use them here? What else could we do?
I don't know. I think you'd have to keep cash on hand.
Yeah.
Gold coins.
And I think, unfortunately, they're really shooting for having a cashless society.
They are.
Maybe for this reason. I really need a tinfoil hat now. Or a foil hat. Maybe it's not tin, aluminum hat. I'm not sure which one. But yeah, keeping gold and silver. Gold and silver coins, perhaps. I mean, trying to take a $300,000 gold bar.
Carry it around in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do. Not to mention they trace that kind of stuff.
They do.
Or, possibly have other things to barter too. So if that happens where you can't use these cards anymore. I mean, we all know you shouldn't be using credit cards to
buy stuff.
Yeah, finance stuff anyway. We love using our credit card because we get points back with it. But we pay it off each month.
Yep.
So it actually gets us free stuff. And I hope you do the same thing too. But if you're not doing that, you shouldn't be using credit cards at all anyway because they're just
evil.
nasty little plastic boogers.
They are.
But it could be like a trap. I mean, think of it this way, that they want to go cashless, everybody has to go to credit cards or something, and then boom, you can get shut down if you go against what the government tells you.
Yeah, especially those new credit cards with the chip in it. All you have to do is swipe it. How easy it's
becoming.
becoming.
I know, yeah, seriously.
Frozen assets.
Do you have frozen assets? Well, do you have assets? All right, so in Russia, when a lot of people, usually their dignitaries are traveling outside of Russia, they're on these private yachts, boats, cargo ships, airplanes, cars, all kinds of craziness. They're being seized, not just by the United States, but by many of the coalition governments going against this. And I think that if it ever came to a real state of America where you went against them, they could seize your car and stuff too.
Interesting.
Let me ask you this. How many of you own a car? More importantly, how many of you own a car that's financed? Yeah, so
I think most society, especially a lot of those more expensive cars, like I don't see a lot of people paying cash for those.
Yeah, and actually, here's the funny thing. A really good friend of mine I grew up with, he leases a car. And I mean, to each his own if you want to lease one, but for me, it's hard to lease a car for like 3 or 4 years, then you give it back, and then you suddenly
get a new car, which is great, but then you've lost all that value that you just put into it.
Right, there's no equity build up whatsoever in that. I mean, you get a brand new car every 2 or 3 years, which is cool, but it's getting closer to the point where you don't own a car, but instead you just kind of like lease a car, and it's never your car in the first place. Yeah. Which for me, every time I look at buying a car, they would be like, "Are you going to lease it?" No way. That's just me. Yep. If you lease your car, that's up to you. But for me, like our last car, we paid cash for.
Yep.
So that way we don't have to worry about any type of finance stuff because I don't want my assets frozen. Now, granted, if I'm an enemy of the state and if I'm driving this car down the road, the police are going to know that.
Yeah, they'll know. But
that this car, be on the lookout for this type of car in the future. But anyways, those things are being seized. And if you can own cars by cash or your boat, maybe your luxury yacht, if you can own that by cash, you'd be doing much better, I think.
I'd like to know that.
Yeah, how'd you do that? No restaurants. So because of corporation sanctions, this is not a government sanction, but corporation sanctions, restaurants have closed down in Russia. I'm not sure if all of them have or most of them, but I know, like, for example, McDonald's.
Really?
And they have hundreds, I think, of McDonald's there in Russia. And they're closed. You will not get your Mick.
What are they?
I don't think they call them.
A Whopper. No, that's
a Mick Whopper.
No,
a Big Mac.
Big Mac. That's what it is. I don't know.
Big Mac, Zdravstvuychi Map, the Staviak Mac, whatever they call it. Anyway, it's interesting how if you go against the American government, then suddenly you're going against American corporations too. And I don't know. I mean,
Interesting.
I was about to say, I hope you don't eat at McDonald's anyway, but I'm not going to really just put McDonald's in a classification. I look at it as in restaurants as a whole.
What do people do?
McDonald's is just as bad as Burger King, which is just as bad as name your poison. I'm not saying we don't partake in something from them.
We do.
Very rarely. We do.
It's too expensive.
I crave McDonald's French fries, but I haven't had one in forever. I don't know why I crave those dumb things. They're probably addictive. But anyway, understand that if you become an enemy of the state, then the corporations, like restaurants and such, will not let you dine there. That I'm just using this as a lesson from Russia.
Interesting.
You go against America, you cannot have your McFries. There's got to be, what is there's a Mc what? There's always like Mc sandwiches. A McGriddle?
McDouble? Is it a McDouble?
I don't know.
I don't know.
A Big Mac. A quarter pounder. They don't have a quarter pounder anyway. It's a metric system there, I'm sure. So it's probably like a...
Oh, I guess it's different.
Exactly.
Chicken
All right,
nuggets?
anyway,
I don't know.
so again, hopefully you're not eating at McDonald's or restaurants too much anyway. But anyway, count that out if you become an enemy of the state.
Internet and commerce. In Russia, internet companies stopped serving them. No Amazon, no Walmart, things like that. They shut them down.
I think Netflix too.
Oh, my no.
Yeah, so no more watching your Netflix originals, your Amazon Prime originals.
I didn't even know they had it there.
I don't know. This is actually just what I read. Amazon Prime, they probably have some type of delivery system there.
That's kind of cool. But
Walmart,
it's sad.
Walmart.com.
Walmart.
And we're definitely switching to an age. We're living in the middle of it, switching from going to the store and buying things, where the pandemic has shifted us to the point
Definitely.
where shopping at home is
So much easier.
so much easier
Yeah.
now, and becoming more popular, far
Yeah.
more popular, especially with what are those different companies like DoorDash
Yeah, DoorDash and
places like DoorDash.
I don't know.
We
we
live
live nowhere.
we live so far out in the middle of nowhere. If we try to have something delivered here, they'd probably laugh.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sure you'd probably do it if you paid enough, but
It doesn't exist where we
we
live.
don't do that. So anyway, I know that there's a lot of corporations that jumped on the bandwagon about the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I'm not going into good or bad about the mask, nothing like that at all. But if you try to go into Walmart without a mask on during all those regulations, they actually had those greeters. You know, Walmart used to have a policy where they actually hired nice little people who had a
They
great
did.
social personality as greeters. Welcome to Walmart. But
They
now
give
it's
you
like,
stickers.
you come in here without a mask, I kill you. You know,
Yeah.
it's basically what they're... I'm
they
sure
were-
I didn't think they said it would kill them, but...
No, they were pretty rough where we were at.
Yeah,
we
we've
were
seen-
out in the middle of nowhere, and it was I got turned away a couple times because I forgot my mask.
She forgot her mask.
I did.
But I've seen the internet videos of people trying to get in Walmart without a mask, and they absolutely go nuts over it.
Yeah, it was pretty. It really brings out a different personality for people when I think all the sanctions were put on around everything.
And that's a sanction that they're looking at as far as a low fatality rate virus.
yeah.
Okay, again, not getting into the politics of that. What's it going to be like in the future if you are an enemy of the state?
Yeah, it definitely brings out a lot of crazies.
Because it used to be you had the government here and corporations here, and they would squabble. I don't want this tax code, et cetera. But now it's like here's the government and here's the corporations, all huggy.
Yeah.
And if you go against the government, the corporations will blacklist you also.
Yeah, they will.
So no more shopping at Walmart.com or shopping at Walmart
Yeah.
is probably what's going to happen. Your cell phone. So this is huge. NSA leaks of what's actually happening, by the way, is the government no longer has to have a warrant to search your cell phone. It used to be if you wanted your private information taken up by the government, even if they just wanted to conduct an investigation, see if you're guilty or not, they would have to have a warrant. It's all part of our due process and habeas corpus and everything, but not anymore, because I don't know if you know it, but when you get your cell phone, you're like, yay, I've got a new cell phone, and I don't care which company it is, you pick it. And burner phones, by the way, we'll talk about that in a second, but you get your phone, and you're like, I'm so excited I got my new phone, and you scroll through it, and it says, do you want this? Sure. Do you want this?
You
No.
agree
You
to
want this?
everything.
And then it comes to the agreement that's just like 3 miles long that you should have a lawyer read it. In that agreement, that fine print will say to you, by the way, if you own this phone, you give up your privacy rights of all of your information at whim.
That's
so
scary.
So your telephone company, if the government doesn't have to have a warrant anymore. I mean, let me rephrase that. The government has to have a warrant unless the information is given freely to the government. It's like this. Let's say I'm being accused of theft, and they want to come search my house, unless they actually have absolute evidence or probable cause that leads to you having that item in the house, they can't come in without a judge-written warrant. But what happens is with the cell phones is that's me basically saying, you can come in my house, but look, here's the computer I stole, and showing it right to them.
Interesting.
Not that you want to be dishonest or illegal anyway, but you have to understand that if the government asks for records, the phone company then decides who gets it, and it has nothing to do with the warrant anymore. Records including all of your calls, your cell phone chats, what are they called? Am I like from the 1800s? A text?
Yeah, the text. It also shows where you've been. Like if you'll get updates of where you've been, so all your locations.
Your location history.
Yeah.
Actually, not even just what time and date the texts were sent, but to the phone numbers of who you sent it to, and if they're actually implicated too, they can search then their phones.
Yeah, it's like a triangle of interesting.
Right. And now here's the thing about burner phones. Do you know burner phones are like the prepaid phones that basically makes it harder for them to track? They can still track you with them, and people say they can't. Oh yeah, they can.
Put them in a chip bag. No, I'm
totally
joking.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's from Terminator.
Yes, but there's actually a whole bunch of people think that works.
Really?
It doesn't.
Oh.
It doesn't work.
Joking, but interesting. But it's funny how the phones nowadays, if you guys have noticed, you cannot take your back cover off and take your battery out anymore. You used to be able to do that. Not anymore.
Yeah, and that's for a reason, because we'll talk about it in another section too. But basically the way the code works is they're able to turn on your camera, they're able to turn on your microphone, and you would never even know it.
Yep.
And it is speculated that even if your phone is shut off, since you can't take the battery out, they can still do it because it's simply part of their software.
Yeah, interesting.
So again, in like Sarah Connor and Terminator, I just put it in a potato chip bag, which I'm sure would make it extra greasy. But the foil qualities of a potato chip bag will not do the job. If you have a true Faraday cage, which, if you're actually talking about our nuclear series, I'm going to be talking about EMPs soon, and I'll also be talking about Faraday cage and how to make one. I have a Faraday cage, and my phone cannot be accessed from that cage. I was like, watch this, guys. You can test it out.
We did.
And my phone has no idea what's going on inside that cage.
It was nice.
It is. It's really cool.
Maybe
you
we
can
should
do
have
that.
timeout time.
Yeah, the phone.
Phone timeout.
Yeah, 23 hours a day. Phone, you're in your cage. Yeah, so basically, if you have a phone, which practically speaking we all do, and we're going to talk about the old ones on the wall that actually have a cord attached to them, they can do anything and listen to it at their discretion, not yours. And they can completely give it to the government, police, corporation, anybody they want it to, because when you actually agree to those terms, if you don't agree to the terms, you can't use the phone service.
It's a sticky situation.
It's like a bully. You either do this my way or you don't get a phone.
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess I got my phone, and that's what people do.
Yep.
Computer monitoring. Okay, to understand this, we're going to talk about what are called 0 days. And this is about computers, by the way, but this applies literally to anything that has electronics, by the way, which will frighten you after we're talking about this. But we'll talk about computers specifically, then we'll talk about the other things in a second too. All right, so it doesn't matter what computer program is running on your computer. Maybe you have Windows as your main program. Maybe you have Apple.
Or Excel.
Or maybe you have programs like Excel or Tetris or what's that one from China? TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter. What happens is this. When they write that code, it gets so complicated and the code is monstrously long that they accidentally put errors in the code, which makes that code vulnerable. There you go. I'm going to say the word. And it makes it so in some of the more severe exploits, they can literally connect to your computer and do anything they want to on your computer. And again, you would never know.
Yep.
This is actually the biggest thing that Russia does to Ukraine all the time. It actually used 0-day exploits to access the computer systems in Ukraine, and this is long before their invasion now, that completely shut down all their power plants. And literally, I read a book about this. There was one of the Ukrainian power plant workers, and he's on his computer, and he sees the mouse and everything moving, shutting everything down. And he's like, what?
He's like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and so literally it shut the power down, which was down for days because of this. And something else interesting, Russians actually discovered a 0-day exploit in America's power grid at the time that they actually invaded Crimea and took it over, because we actually wanted to place sanctions against them then, but they're basically like, go ahead and try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because we actually now hold your power plants. They made that very clear to us. How's that for frightening?
That's really frightening.
So if you have any type of computer or phone, there's exploits on there, And our government and foreign governments may already be in there.
Yeah, they tap into it. And for us personally, we like to get something and to stick it over the camera so that at least they're not watching us.
As we have a YouTube channel.
I know we're out there, but I don't know. We feel a little safer as you're sitting in your home. I don't know. But just a sticky note. I know they make things that you can actually...
Yeah, it's so funny. My sticky note costs like a fraction of a penny. But you can actually buy a clip that costs $1.
Yeah,
it's like,
I don't know.
But people buy them, I suppose.
We do.
If it works, it works. But also voice, too.
Yeah.
If Ashley and I are talking about something... I first of all, I never divulge any classified information from the military. But if we talk about something that only for us to hear... Sometimes we'll like point at the computer or phone. This is not the time to talk about it. So in those circumstances, we understand very well that those zero-day exploits are in our computer systems.
Yeah, they listen, they see us.
Now, again, they're just like a padlock. It's there to keep honest people honest, and we are honest people. But nevertheless, though, I also like privacy, and I feel like our country is developed on privacy of the individual.
We've really given that away between all the gadgets that we have, between the smart TVs and Alexa in the house and things like that. We've really given that.
Yeah.
We've really given our robots, like we have one of those Zoom robot things, and it maps out the floor.
A Zoom robot.
It's not. What is it called?
A Roomba?
A Roomba. Yeah, that's what it's called.
A Zoom robot.
I don't know. It's a better name. That's what I gave it. Okay. But it maps out the floor of your house. Like they implement things in your house to know where everything is at. So very interesting.
I'm going to add on to this too, by the way. Think of any electronic device, especially when it comes to security measures, that actually are connected into a network system. Like, for example...
Your baby monitor.
Oh, yeah, but I actually have a better one for you.
Okay.
Ready? Let's say you're staying at a hotel. And at a hotel, they no longer have these things called keys, but they actually have like a card swiper, or you actually touch the pad to get into your room. Those have actually been clearly identified as having these zero-day exploits where they can literally go to your room now, punch in the right code, a hacker can, and walk right into your room.
Yeah, it's taken the security, the safeness, I think, away from us personally. Like I feel vulnerable, no pun intended.
It is. Yeah, it's a very unsettling feeling knowing that hacker information could be in anything we own.
A week, yep.
So if you don't want the world to know about it, then don't say it around your computer or phone.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Mortgage. Do you have a mortgage on your house? Most people do. We do.
We do. And it's not as secure as you think it is. Not to mention term loans or limited loans are all in the same boat. And here's the scary part about this one. I don't know if you know this, and it may frighten you quite a bit if you do fall in this category of having a mortgage. But when you actually signed your mortgage paperwork and you agreed to, let's go ahead and just say that you have your house. We'll just make it very easy. You paid $100,000 for your house and your payments are $500 a month. Okay, whatever. So you pay your payments, $500 a month. Look, I've made my payments every month. I've always paid my payments to the day. I actually pay them ahead of time. I do really well, don't I? There's actually fine print in your mortgage, in your term loans, signature loans, and all these loans where the bank can actually call those loans if they feel that you are now unsecure.
If you're a threat to them.
Even if you've made every single payment on time and you've never had a discrepancy at all, they can still call your loan.
That's frightening.
That's exceedingly frightening. So if you become an enemy of the state because the state has now deemed you as being a risk, well, you're now unsecure.
You lose everything.
I know you already paid $70,000 on the $100,000 loan. You have $30,000 left. Apparently there's no interest in that loan, but you have $30,000 left. I'm sorry. We want that $30,000 by the end of the month. Get it to me or we're taking back the house. And they have every right to do it.
Wow.
That is frightening.
It's very frightening.
And Ashley already divulged to you. So if you're a mortgage person who can call on a loan, I'm sorry. I apologize to you. But yeah, we have a mortgage and we are doing our best to try to pay it off. It just takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort in trying to get these paid off. But it's not even just mortgages. It's financing for a car. It's financing for signature loans, term loans, any loans you can get. They can actually call those loans at any time and make you basically lose that item if you don't pay it right away.
That's scary.
So your goal should be, and guys, I'm being realistic here. Out of anything, Goshen Prepping is about realistic and being thrifty and stuff. I'm not saying you have the money to pay off your loans right away, but it should be a goal.
Yeah.
And that's the way we look at it. It's our goal to have these things paid off, to have our house paid off
we want that security.
Soon as possible. Yep. Exactly right. Wood stoves.
We've heard that some states are making wood stoves illegal.
Yeah, in fact, they actually put it under the classification of like an open flame source or something like that in the house. Now, it turns out the biggest one we heard was New York made it so as a certain month, wood stoves were completely illegal. But from what I've read, it turns out that was simply that wasn't true at all.
Oh, okay.
And what they're saying is through the Environmental Protection Agency, which here we go, they're trying to make it so, well, you know what, you're at a wood stove, you're polluting the environment with carbon emissions and stuff like that.
That's what they're saying. I think California was saying the same thing.
Yeah, California and New York. But it turns out that although they're actually making more strict, they're not outright banning wood stoves.
That's good. Because that's cold.
Again, that's what I've read. You know, if you actually have information that I'm wrong about that, say it, but not from what you've heard. You know, don't simply, I heard, that doesn't matter.
If you work in that department. And you know that.
Or you actually have reliable sources for that. However, beside that, when it comes to wood stoves, we're actually seeing more and more strict regulations put on wood stoves by the government and EPA, saying the stove has to be a certain efficiency. You want it to be efficient anyway.
Yeah.
But by homeowners associations, by covenants in certain areas where you live, zoning laws are starting to make it so you cannot put in a wood burning stove.
Yeah, which is sad.
It's ridiculous. This is my house. But you know, it's one of those things where you're going to move in this area, they're like, well, here's our HOA, you agree to it or you can't live here.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that in a lot of cases that the house has already had the wood stove when you moved in. There's grandfathered clauses making it so you can actually
keep it.
But the long story short on this one is those people are trying to make it more difficult for us to actually have a wood stove. For our house, you can see how big our house is. That's the only source of heat we have here in Michigan. That's it.
Yeah.
We only have
the
wood to heat our entire home.
And it's get cold in the winter, so.
Yeah, and we go through a lot of wood.
We do.
And so, but you know, I'll tell you, when we first moved in, we actually had a propane boiler, but it cost $500 a month to heat our house. I was like, $500.
Yeah.
So I put in a wood stove, and the prices went down significantly, and we love it.
We do.
Oh my gosh, I love my wood stove.
It's cozy sitting in front of it.
Yeah, so one of those things I would try, if I were you, I would try to get a wood stove in now, so before any laws do pass, if they do go through, obviously, so you can be grandfathered in. But besides that, if you can't have a wood stove, you're again tied to the grid. They want everything to be electric. And Elon Musk himself, who of course is actually running Tesla, said, our power grid can't handle that kind of stuff. What are you thinking? But they're still trying to push it.
Guns.
Okay, and I know this is really tough to talk about politics when it comes to firearms. Even YouTube only, you know, very much limits as far as the discussion of them. But isn't that amazing, considering it's our Second Amendment right to bear arms? Yep. But yet guns, it already was a four-letter word, has become a four-letter word.
Yeah.
And I know that a whole host of, I've talked about this in one of the previous videos, and one of the followers said, I don't think it's actually most of the people in the United States. It's just a certain small amount of people and the government. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, though, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And those people who are trying to make the guns go away are screaming really loud.
Yeah, they're very loud.
And there's all kinds of things happening now because of guns that they're trying to make it more and more difficult. And I'm not talking about legally owned guns where you actually had the background check and all that stuff.
All the ones that you shouldn't have. You know?
I'm not talking about the automatic ones. I'm talking about if you right now want to go buy a gun in the United States, it's really, really tough to do that unless you actually go through the channels and actually have a background check done. And for most people I know, in fact, I've never seen anybody able to buy guns specifically without having some kind of background check.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I'll tell you this too, and this is a scary part along with that also, that one of the things about guns, if you're actually deemed to be mentally unstable, then they will not let you have a gun. Which, in your mind, you think that's true. Yes, of course you don't want to have somebody who's mentally unstable. But who deems them as being mentally unstable?
Exactly.
Because there's been a lot of things about people shouting freedom in the United States, and they're calling these people terrorists who are unstable just because they call for freedom. Wait a second. That was all part of what the United States is a part of. Boy, we're getting into politics now, aren't we? But anyways, we're seeing a lot of things being imposed that guns they're really trying to make it difficult for us to own guns, or what they call like high capacity magazines and all those things.
They want to know everything about it, and I think it's none of their business, but I mean, that's just me. I mean, even like going to the pediatrician's office, you have to fill out forms saying if you have a gun in your home, and I don't understand. That has nothing to do with if your child has been sick or how tall they are or anything. So
I could be wrong, but I think our primary care asked that too.
They did?
Do you own guns? None of your business. There's no box there where you can check that. It's none of your business. They want to know. It's none of your business.
Yeah.
It's none of your business. Do you have freedom of speech? Check box yes or no. Do you have a right to vote? Check box yes or no.
Yep.
Those are also Bill of Rights things too.
Exactly.
But guns, however, is on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really weird how they're. I don't know. Don't get me started on this one. That could be a video all on its own. And that one does not have the foil hat on there. I've taken that one off. I should actually make a foil hat.
I should. That'd be fun.
Just wear these things for these.
Maybe Amazon has
the
one.
Crazy talks. Yeah, if you're allowed to buy from Amazon. Inoperable cars. This one's crazy. I don't know if you know this, but if you actually have a modern vehicle that actually, like a lot of them actually connect to like OnStar or these other services and stuff, they actually have, I don't know if you know this, they have kill switches.
I did not know that.
They have kill switches. Like we have a big white van because we have a big family, and that van, I know for a fact, has a kill switch.
Oh, I did not know that.
Our van, we don't have to worry about payments for that type of stuff, but there's actually already going on. This is not some kind of conspiracy theory. It's already happening right now where let's say we actually have that van financed through, I don't know if it's like if GMC does it or not.
Oh, okay.
But we own a Chevy. And you finance that van through Chevy and you're not making your payments and they try to repossess it, they can actually kill that van so you can never drive it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it's not drivable at all or you can't particularly?
Nobody can.
Oh.
They can actually make it so, like for example, we needed a second key for our van because our 3-year-old, when he was 2, must have thrown it away. That's our best guess.
Yeah, we don't
So we
know.
need another key. But of course, it's a chip key. And we actually tried to get a new chip program for it and it wasn't working. You could actually turn the key, but nothing would happen because the computer wouldn't allow to start it. So they can actually kill your van, kill your car at their whim. Right now, it's because if you're not making payments on it. And they'll make it so you cannot drive that car.
That's really frightening. Like, I don't know.
I mean, think about it this way, though. Let's say that you buy a $30,000 car from them and you make 2 payments and you're like, see ya, suckers.
Yeah,
on their part, they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? You're not getting away with your car. Beep,
Yeah.
and it shuts down.
That's
They probably have things where, okay, he's not driving it right now, shut it down. In other words, in the middle of the highway, and watch you fly off the road. I don't think they do that, obviously. But they have that ability, and they can do it. And they do that. As this is not speculation. In fact, because of this, 5 states, I think most of them in New England states, or up there toward that area, like New York and New Jersey, have made laws about this that says, that's fine, you can do this, but you can only do it if they're actually so long or so much late on their payments.
Okay,
and stuff.
there's
there are regulations.
stipulations on it.
But again, let's go ahead and put the foil hats back on. What happens if you become an enemy of the state? And since the government and corporations are our little buddies now, and suddenly now you are now a terrorist because you don't agree with what they're doing, they can shut down your car.
So my goodness. Like
If you have a newer car. And now does it make more sense why they really try to push leased cars all the time, so you always get the newest, latest, greatest car for
all the
cheaper
new
than
chips.
buying one.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, yeah.
Anything to say?
No, I just now thinking about it, all the things like they're tapping into. They can take your mortgage. They can freeze your credit cards. They can stop your cars now. Like they listen on your phones and your computers. Oh my goodness, this is frightening.
But I can take it to a new level.
Oh.
All right, so there's actually been a congressional push to make it so cars are automated now.
Yeah, I've seen.
It's not simply just, I mean, I wish government would just leave their hands off of this stuff. Because if Chevy wants to put out a driverless car, or Tesla wants to, let them do it because people want to buy it.
Yeah.
But not because the government's saying, yes, please do this, because that's what they've been doing. And they do it under the guise that people are really bad drivers, and there's been a lot of deadly accidents over the years. And that is true.
Yep.
You know, there's certain ways of driving. We're just, as humans, we really are terrible, especially when we have a phone.
Yes, that's
Okay?
Texas.
But it comes down to this, that they're trying to push it so driverless cars are coming. Driverless cars are coming, and that's what they're really pushing to happen. So picture 10 years from now that they really have all the bugs worked out of it, which they still have a lot to work out, by the way, mind you. And make it so that's all there are driverless cars at that point. You have to buy them. Then eventually, older cars will eventually fall down and be taken out and go off the road, and you won't be able to use them anymore. Not only will you be able to not start your car in those dystopian futures, but not only that, but you will not be able to go anywhere because there isn't a single car that will pick you up or drive you anywhere. That's a foil hat for you right there, my
That's
friends.
very interesting.
Okay, so there we go. There's our 10 things of being an enemy of the state. Are you an enemy of the state? Well, I don't know. Obviously,
no.
you don't want to be an enemy of the state, but we also want to live our lives with freedom, and that freedom of prepping and having a wood stove and all those other things too. So what are some of your crazy things about this type of topic that you've heard? Please, by all means, put them in the description below. We read through the comments, guys. We have so many of them that we don't get through all of them, but we love reading the comments and hearing through correspondence with you. So put those in the comments below, as well as if you completely think we're nuts, that's fine. Put
Yeah, that's okay.
Just be nice. You know, we never block anybody or shut them down because they're not being nice. If you disagree with us, disagree all you want.
Yeah.
I love disagreement. Yeah. That's what we do as
You're right
adults.
to your opinion.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, I've had a lot of people say that I shouldn't have that opinion. That's fine. That's your opinion for saying that. But if you're mean about it, out you go.
Yeah.
Because there's no place for that. We can have
Love.
adult conversations full of love. And that's what we want to do, is get through these things because we love you guys. That's why we put these videos out, so we can all be prepared.
Try to help you. Yep.
But again, this video is a little bit different.
It is.
Still prepping, but in a different kind of mindset. So what do you think about that? Good? Bad?
Did you like the
Ugly?
video? I don't know.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. All right, thanks for watching, and go ahead and check out this next prepping video. Stay with us.